All right, so 2K23. All right, so finally here. Now, initially, I wanted to give my own personal list of pros and cons in 2K. Now, here's the thing. Mike Wang, uh, right before 2K22 dropped, and here's the thing about Mike Wang. Mike Wang needs to be stopped, right? He needs to be stopped. Right now, right before 2K22 dropped, he was making statements about how it was going to be easier to shoot, right? And to me, that automatically translated to it's going to be just ridiculously easy for you to shoot threes just all day, but especially for the CPU, right? But if you're open in 2K22, you're going to hit threes all day long, all day long. Now, what they've done this year, right before 2K23 dropped, he was making statements about how it's going to be more difficult to shoot, right? It's going to be more difficult to hit open shots. And right to me, immediately what that translated to me as is they basically nerfed shooting, right? And that's exactly what they did in 2K23 this year, right? Now, here's what I don't understand about whoever is truly in charge of what goes on when it comes down to the programming of this game. Instead of making this easier or making that harder, why not instead just make things more realistic? Nobody's asking for it to be easier or harder. That's not logical, right? What makes the most sense according to the actual logic of how basketball plays out? Now, what I want to talk about right here. First, let's get into the actual shot and the difference in how you shoot now, and as it compares to previous years, right? Now, this year, basically, if your shot is not, especially your jump shots and your threes, if your shot is not right and exactly perfect, you're going to miss every single time. Even free throws, every single time you pull it, you're going to miss. That's what they've done this year. They've made it to where you cannot make anything unless your release is like basically right on and just straight up perfect. And basically now the green release is right at the tip of the bar, right? It's right at the tip of the shot meter. And if you're not landing, and it's not like they made it a little easier to land on it, it's probably even harder to land on it. But if you land on it, you're making it 100% of the time down there, or just about 100% of the time. So even if no matter the kind of defense is there, it's irrelevant, right? If you release right there, 100% of the time it's going in. And it's basically unforgiving, right? It's not forgiving at all. If your shit is too early or just slightly late, you're tricking every single time. It don't matter if you're doing a wide open layup. I think I made one layup that was relatively open where it wasn't perfect and it actually went in. But outside of that, for the most part, you're gonna trick all of that shit that you pull up close under the rim. It does not matter if it's not specifically on that green. It's no good, right? And this is not realistic. They basically dwarfed, or basically just outright nerfed a lot of the shooting. They made it. It's almost unbearable, like the types of shots that you would be tricking, and you could be just very, very close to the green. It does not do slightly early, slightly late anymore. It's just red late, red early, right? It's not forgiving, and there's no slack on it whatsoever, right? Now, they've turned it into more of a bully ball, right under the basket type of game. Now I want to cover this right here with just occurred. We're going to get more into explaining the actual shooting. Now right here, here's an example right here of basically arbitrarily forcing my team to miss this easy rebound, this easy offensive rebound. And this is happening more often. It seems like it's happening a lot more often in 2K23 than it was in 2K22, where you're missing easy rebounds, right? So right here, where he knocks it out of his hand, right? So this is an offensive board, and you can see it right here. It's in between his hands. So if he just pulls his hands together, that's caught, right? That's an easy rebound. But what happens is, instead of allowing it to kind of jumble between both of his hands and so he could eventually catch it, when it hits his other hand, it goes right through it, right? You see, basically his hand is inside the ball. And I've talked about the intangible and the tangible ball, the intangible limbs and arms and hands and all like that. How in 2K, they get to determine when, they basically get to determine when you're going to exactly touch whatever it is you're trying to touch. But in this case, it's the basketball, right? So if they really wanted it to be that he just caught it dead on, his hand wouldn't go through it, right? But the game, they deliberately programmed it to where you're not allowed to get every offensive rebound just because you should get it logically, right? I know that makes no sense whatsoever, but that's how 2K works, because they don't want you abusing offensive rebounds, because you can always beat computer to them, but you're going to have certain instances where a lot of instances where you might beat computer to a rebound, offense or defense sometimes, and you still won't be allowed to just catch it, even though rightfully, you earned it, right? But the game, it just arbitrarily trumps a lot of things like that. Now, what they've turned this into more of a, believe it or not, they've turned it into more of a big man's game, right? Right underneath the basket, brute force, post up, standing layups, driving layups here and there. Because another thing that they've also done, I know I talked about in 2K22 how they made it more difficult to drive, when you have open transitions, when you open on a fast break and all like that. It's even worse this year, right? It's even worse this year because the whole time now, I've noticed a lot of times the entire time I'm running, my man is being forced to slow down and stop, especially if there's any signs of defense anywhere nearby, right? I'm going to show examples of that later on, but that'll just about do it for this video. Man, it's bad. This is not an improvement at all. All right, that's just the bottom line. I know I said I want to do pros and cons. There really are no pros. It's just cons, right? And I didn't want to say that. I actually wanted to give, just like what I did in 2K22, I wanted to give, both sides, right? What's the good, what's the bad? There is no, but you know what? I'll say this. They've added more badges, right? For, different shit or whatever. It just depends on what you think about that. But outside of that, there are no pros. This is just whack. I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. It's whack. It's just whack, right? It seems to be even more restricted in your ability to drive and do fast breaks. Like, man, so many times I had someone on a fast break where I just know this should be just an easy bucket. I'm leading the whole pack. And next thing I know, my dude's just slowing down and computer is catching up. And they're forcing me to slow down, right? They force you to do a dribbling animation that makes you slow down. It's just garbage. Why would they do that? See, that dude, Mike Wang, needs to be stopped. But I know this probably wasn't, the best, but I'm really just getting my feet wet with this one right here. I might play on it for a few more days before I even upload more, just to get a good feeling of it. Hopefully when they bring some new patches or whatever, they learn, I just don't understand, why don't they naturally automatically know that this is not it? Why don't they automatically know that y'all have to go through so many trial and errors before y'all release this game to the public? It's like, how come no one said, it's not a good idea what we've done to the shooting? It's just not a good idea. It's just not. I don't see how would they think that was a good idea. It just doesn't make sense. You people, you get paid likely millions of dollars, or in the six or seven figures to put this type of shit together. Why don't they just know? You see what I'm saying? We're not even gamers. I mean, not gamers, but we're not even game developers. We're not developers, and we can immediately turn this shit on, play it, and see everything that's wrong with it in the first go around. Why don't they understand this as an entire team? This shit is just, look, I'm done with this shit. But anyway, that'll wrap this video up, man. Peace.